is CNN.
Breaking news at this moment. Trump doubling down on Matt Gaetz as his pick for Attorney General.
Mr. President, are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No.
That comes as we are learning tonight the confidential files, including a deposition with a woman who says she had sex with Gaetz when she was 17 years old, have been breached. Gaetz, meanwhile, is working the phones on his own behalf, trying to get senators to commit to backing him for Attorney General. Manu Raju's out front on Capitol Hill speaking to all of those senators. And Trump tonight, Manu, standing by Gaetz. Tonight, though, more GOP senators are calling for the release of that House Ethics Committee report, which will be crucial. And, we know this. It's got a lot of damning information in it.
Yeah, potential clash is brewing between the House and the Senate Republicans. In fact, the incoming Republican chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which will consider this nomination, Chuck Grassley, told me that if they do not receive this report, it could slow down the consideration of this nomination. Even as Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is defending his decision to call on the House Ethics Committee to withhold that report, contending that former members like Matt Gaetz, who abruptly resigned last week, should not be subjected to these ethics reports to come out into the public, even though there have been instances where former members have seen their ethics reports come out. Now, I asked senators about that argument from Mike Johnson, and some senators, including Mike Rounds of South Dakota, pushed back.
I think if there is an ethics report out there that is being or that has been completed, then I think the Senate is going to want to see it. It may very well speed up the vetting process. On the other hand, if it's not available and we have to recreate it ourselves, that would delay our ability to make a decision on a very critical nominee.
If you were to recess appoint any of these nominees who were rejected by the Senate.
I think a recess appointment is going to be very challenging.
And that last point could become critical because Donald Trump has called on these appointments to be installed via a recess appointment, essentially bypassing the Senate altogether. But you can hear there some pushback there. And Aaron Gaetz behind the scenes is trying to lock down support. He's been calling individual Republican senators. And tomorrow, J.D. Vance, the vice president-elect, will be on Capitol Hill with Gaetz, meeting with some senators as they try to lock down support and reassure them over their concerns. But unclear, Aaron, if this House Ethics report will become public. That panel meeting behind closed doors tomorrow to decide how to proceed.
Absolutely crucial. Manu, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Joel Leppert is back with me. Of course, last night on this show, he revealed how his two clients testified that then Congressman Matt Gaetz paid them both for sex on apps, including Venmo and PayPal, that one of the women also witnessed Gaetz having sex with her 17-year-old friend on an air hockey table at a party. Allegations Gaetz denies. So, Joel, let me just start with the breaking news at this moment that we understand multiple confidential files that had been basically stored on a secure online system have been breached. And that would be sworn testimony from the woman about the 17-year-old, your clients, others. A lot of information about them would be a part of that. How damaging would all of this be if it comes out? All the information that you know to Matt Gaetz?
Well, the depositions of my client lasted over 6 hours, so it was a very extensive testimony from the very beginning of July 2017 throughout her interactions from 2019. She provided very detailed testimony during the civil lawsuit that Representative Dorworth brought against the minor and Joel Greenberg, alleging that they had defamed him.
Joel Greenberg, of course, is serving time.
That's right.
Now, and you describe his role in all of this as what?
So Joel Greenberg was essentially responsible or did have access to seeking arrangements, and he would essentially meet the women in seeking arrangements and then would introduce them to the other individuals in his group.
All right, and this group of people, which included your clients, can I ask you just to explain your clients? Obviously, you had talked about how they saw then Representative Matt Gaetz at that time around 35 having sex with a 17-year-old on the air hockey table. When did your clients first meet him?
Yeah, so my client first met Representative Gaetz at that party in July of 2017. She was invited by her friend who had met Joel Greenberg, and she attended that party back in July in 2017, and she first met Representative Gaetz then. My other client met Representative Gaetz at a party that she was invited to by Joel Greenberg later that same year in December of 2017.
All right, so they met back in 2017. These interactions continued for a couple of years. And when you look back at it, and he was paying them for these sexual encounters, how much did he pay them?
When my clients provided testimony to the House, they put up on the screen a list of the Venmo and PayPal transactions directly from Representative Gates to my clients. For one of the clients, it was a little over $6,000. For another client, it was a little over $4,000.
So a little over $10,000 to your clients from him directly.
That's correct.
On PayPal and Venmo. Okay, so how did it start, the payments for that he would be paying them for sex?
So the House asked my clients what the payments were for, and I mean they met on a Seeking.com, and that was the understanding that they were there.
That's the nature of the website.
Well, I can't speak to that, but
Yeah.
that was the nature of their particular agreement, understanding that they had, and that they had spoke with that with, I believe, Joel Greenberg, and that was kind of the understanding of what was happening. And so they would get payments from Representative Gates, from Joel Greenberg, from other gentlemen, and those payments were put on the screen, and my clients testified that, yes, they were for sex.
So just to give everyone a sense of how constant and embedded this was, according to what your clients say. You mentioned last night a trip to New York in January of 2019 that you say Gates took your clients on. They say that they were there. He paid them to travel with him. He paid them to have sex with them on that trip. So first, though, apparently, according they say, he took them to Fox News and that they were basically set like this, but they're offset, waiting for him to do his interview. And let me just play a clip from that particular interview. So Gates is going to New York. He does this interview, in part says this.
I know the president likes to call her Pocahontas, but now that she's making her way from the eastern seaboard into the center of the country, maybe Sacagawea would be more appropriate. But instead of bringing Lewis and Clark, she's bringing the most liberal policies of the Democratic Party.
Okay, so that was their show Outnumbered. And then after that, he leaves the interview with your clients. And then what happens?
Yeah, so they went to the show Pretty Woman, and I believe that my clients went to an EDM show later on that night.
And an EDM show, what's that?
An electronic dance music.
Okay.
They had a show that they wanted to see that night. And the House was, the reason why it came up actually, the House was asking my clients if they ever felt pressured by Representative Gates. And they indicated, at least one of my clients testified to the House that there was a time that they felt that they needed to please Representative Gates before going out and going to the show.
Okay, I understand what you're saying in that. I'm not going to ask you to get more graphic than that. But may I just ask, when he's paying them to come, he's paying them for sex. When does all this happen? The sex is happening before the Fox News interview, before the show, before the...
The payments would take place before or after the event. So sometimes, so in this instance, I believe the testimony was that they received payments in part for flights before, and sometimes there'd be payments on the back end as well. But it's not something where we're talking about leaving money on the table or anything like that. All the transactions, generally speaking, were electronic. There's evidence of one check that was provided to my client, but generally speaking, it was electronic, and those payments would come either before or after. That's what the testimony was before the House.
All right, so how much evidence do your clients have? I mean, obviously all these payments are there, but as the House Ethics Committee would have, that the Senate may get to see, are there also pictures of all of these times together in these parties? I would assume there's a lot of like, video and photographic evidence.
Well, despite the fact that my clients weren't allowed to take pictures, there was a strict no phone policy. There are numerous photos that they were able to provide. So they provided photos to the House at the New York event. They provided selfies that Representative Gates sent them. They testified that they sent Representative Gates nudes from time to time at his request, and also on their own accord. Yeah. There are also numerous text messages, group messages between them as well. But you have to understand that my clients are only 2 out of the over a dozen witnesses that testified. I was present for 2 of those. And so what I'm telling you is just a fraction of the evidence that's available of the thousands of documents and the 25 subpoenas, 12 witnesses.
So and I guess that's a crucial part of this. The House Ethics Committee is scheduled to make its decision on releasing their full report. Do you think the allegations you're talking about here and detailing, which have to do with your 2 clients, are a large chunk of their report, or do you think that this is the tip of the iceberg?
Well, I do think that's probably at the tip of the iceberg. My clients did play a central role, but the evidence that the House has, I would presume, is overwhelming because my clients were just two of the other witnesses, and there are very important witnesses who have yet to come out and give a preview of what the House Ethics Committee results might show.
All right. Well, Joel, thank you very much. I appreciate your time again tonight.
Thanks for having me back.
And we do have new video into Outfront next. You're going to see migrants trying to scale a U.S. border wall. This is literally just moments ago. They only stopped when they saw our cameras there. Our David Culver is right there, and we're going to take you to him next. Plus, the most powerful rocket to date takes flight. Elon Musk's high-profile show and tell, though this time went a little off plan. We'll show you.